Hello friends, this is Hatim Rampurawala here, and in this video we will cover case study number 4. Videos, that is 3 case studies had already been uploaded on the channel. If you haven't visited, you can check them out for a revision purpose. And this is the revision of case study 4, which we are doing directly from the ICI module. Um, Again, okay, done. Let's before. So the first case study, if we go through the concept, was for value chain balance, was linked with balance scorecard and KPI. The second was specifically value chain analysis. That was much simply a smart case study. Third was which we done is West World, that is value chain and value shop model, which would be the better fit in the industry, that is manufacturing, if we say that value chain model, and for service sector value shop model. And the case study 4 is Potter's five forces and divisional transfer pricing. So the concept over here is Potter's five forces. What are the Potter's five forces? First, bargaining power of the customer, bargaining power of the supplier, threat of new customer, threat of the substitute, and rivalry among the industry. So the two major part, that is to, bargaining power of the customer and bargaining power of the supplier, can be linked with the divisional transfer price. Can be linked with the divisional transfer price. As what is divisional transfer pricing? That is the transfer pricing when we transfer the goods from one department to another department, so for one division it is like they are selling the product, and for one division it is they are buying the product. So this, the bargaining power of supply and the customer, the concept of Potter's five forces, we have to link with in this case study, that said we have to link that with the divisional transfer pricing. So which division would be superior, that is which division has the head over the other division. So what the transfer pricing, what will be the transfer pricing, how the transfer pricing will be decided, that is whether it will be on they will sell on the marginal cost to cost basis, or by, if they if one division has the market outside as well, so whether they will sell so that they will sell on the market price to the internal department as well. So we'll go through the case study. The question is, actually they haven't given as such case study, they had just said to link both the concept as such, and the case study is very small, just 2 pages case study. So sorry, in the five forces model, question, in the five forces model, one of the crux is that the company, and the five forces model, one of the crux that compete with their buyers in the supplier. So it is like buyer and supplier relationship, the division between two division. The same model can be used to evaluate the co competitive environment of the division of the large complex company. The same model can be used for evaluating whether for small and large companies. In some companies, some of the division may be the buyer and the supplier to the another. So one division with the selling would be the seller, and the purchasing would be the buyer, means buyer and seller relationship, a supplier relationship between two division. Sorry, this lead to the management accountant becoming involved in the negotiation. So over here come negotiation part, that what would be the transfer pricing as such, the main problem, okay, on problem or as such, okay, on what transfer pricing, because performance is being evaluated on the profit they generate. If we speak of individual department, so it should be beneficial for both, for buyer as well, buying division as well, and selling division as well. This lead to the management accountant becoming involved in the negotiation, leading to the agreement of the suitable transfer pricing between these divisions. So the concept is clear. We will see the required part. Explain how the forces applied in the relationship between the supplier and the buyer led to the Michael Porter to reach to the conclusion that the companies compete with their buyer and supplier. So we have to just say, okay, how the forces are applied in the relationship with buyer and supplier. And second is discuss the issues of negotiation. So how to decide, how to come on a transfer pricing and agreeing, that is the issue of negotiating and agreeing to the transfer pricing between the divisions, between the large and complex organization, between the large and complex, so means in big organizations how it is done, where there are divisions. Make the reference to the Portal 5. We have to link this with Potter's 5, Potter's model. Michael Porter's model, and your argument in part 1 is very appropriate. Okay, so we will go through the first that is how the forces applied in relationship between the buyer, seller and supplier and the buyer led to the Porter. Michael Porter reached to the conclusion that the company compete with the buyer and supplier. Michael Porter concludes that the company or the division compete with their buyer and the supplier because they exercise the bargaining power over one another. So if one is buying, so it has a and if it has a power as such that it is buying in bulk, or he is the only manufacturer of that product, so he will only the buyer will only purchase from that supplier. So it is like a which party, which supplier or the buyer have the power. We will read this once again. The Michael Porter concludes that the company or the division compete with the buyer and the supplier because they exercise the bargaining power over one another. They have bargaining power over another, whether supplier has the bargaining power or the customer has the bargaining power. The relative competitive advantage is determined by the degree of the bargaining power. Competitive advantage, so over here one party gets a competitive advantage which has the as such power bargaining power over other party. So the one party which has power enjoys the competitive advantage. The Potters view the competition as an activity that affects the margin, where the buyer and supplier struggle to steal the margin from each other. Okay, the competitive forces between the buyer and the supplier affects the price and the quality. The competitive forces this the competitive forces between them affects the price. So what would be the price? Now if the price is high, might be we get a better quality, or if the price is low, so there would be a this affect the price and the quality. The larger the order, or the powerful buyer will exercise the force by trying to encourage the supplier to improve the quality. So if the buyer is large powerful, so they will say that I will purchase, but the quality should be a good one, improved quality. So they will encourage the supplier to improve the quality either of the product or the services being provided, or of the service or the service supporting the product. So or either to improve the quality of the product which they are purchasing, or the services which is being used for the product. As an another option, the powerful buyer might willing to accept the standard product but demands a discount. So on one side they can ask for the better quality product, or they can ask for the discounts because they are purchasing in large, thus increasing its own margin by own margin at an expense of the supplier. So this would be an expense for the supplier because they had to reduce the price, and on the other hand this would be an increase in the margin from the buyer's point of view. The relative size of the party also determines the bargaining power. Uh, Relative size determine of the bargaining power. Of course, the party size determine the bargaining power, which party has the power, as it also depends on the degree of the reliance on one another. The larger buyer or the supplier from whom the other party is a small or unimportant proportion of the business is more likely to exercise the power to get a good deal. It is clear that the buyer placing a small order is in a worse position to ask for a discount than placing a very large order. So if a buyer to enjoy a competitive advantage, if they had to there had to be an bulk order instead of a small order, in which they don't exercise in which they cannot exercise their power. So there uh, in order to buy and exercise the power, they had to be place the order on the very large order. In some cases, if the buyer represents the major portion of the turnover, a supplier will work hard to keep such buyer happy. So if the buyer is large, and if he is buying on the regular basis, the supplier will generally try to keep that buyer happy, that is providing a better quality or providing a proper discount, so that the buyer doesn't shift to the another supplier, thus increasing the service package to support the product by incurring the cost. The buyer or the supplier also has a greater bargaining the buyer or the supplier also has the greater bargaining power if switching cost in doing the business elsewhere is incurred by the other party. This cost would, if incurred, reduce the margin This will lead to party being less likely to break up the relationship with the another party. So if there is a switching cost, that there is a penalty or fees, as such we say, generally penalty, that the relationship of, for instance, a tenure of 3 years or 5 years, they have to incur a cost. So and that would result to a in all adding the cost to the product at the end. So in order to avoid that switching cost, the buyer and seller generally tries to keep their relationship with one another. So as we are seeing from this reading, generally saying is that which party has the power over the another party in buying and selling divisions. So they enjoy the what we can say, the the power which has enjoys the competitive advantage over the another party, and how the supplier and buyer keep to maintain the relationship with one another. The bargaining power are also determined by the availability of the alternative supplier. Some element of the bargaining power are also determined by the availability of the alternative supplier or the buyer. A large supplier will give no concession to a very small buyer if it is confident that the another buyer will be available to replace it. Okay, so it is simple that if they will not provide a discount to the buyer, if we see from supplier point of side, they will not provide a discount if they know that their product with the buyer, this buyer can be replaced by some another buyer. Similarly, a buyer looking for a very special material or a services may find that it has no alternative than to accept the terms offered by the single supplier. So if they want a special, for instance, if a buyer wants a special product, and if it is available only with that customer, only with that supplier, so the buyer has left with no choice but to purchase or to accept the price or the terms uh, mentioned by stated by that supplier. Thus the companies and the division compete with their buyers and the supplier. However, these depends on how broad the definition of the competition is. Simple, the Michael Porter states that so actually the companies and the divisions who purchases, so over there they becomes the buyer, and whether they can enjoy the competitive advantage, as stated that whether they are enjoying the bargaining power of the customer, and if they are on the supplying side, the companies and the division supplier side, so whether they are enjoying the bargaining power of the supplier. So this is linked that each and every company or the divisions are somewhere at some point they are buyer and they are seller as well, so that they buy and sell the product. So and this concept is linked with the uh, Potter's five chain, that is Potter's five forces, that which party enjoys the competitive advantage over the another party. Thus the company and the last paragraph, thus the company and the division compete with their buyers and the supplier. However, this depend on how broad the definition of the competition is. Michael Porter states from the premise of a very broad definition consequently would prove this hypothesis. So this paragraph can be ignored as such. And then part 2, what they had asked in part 2 is discuss the issue of negotiating. What are the issues involved in negotiating or agreeing to the transfer pricing? So in the first question they haven't compared as such the division thing, that one division is buying from the another, that they are competing with one another. In second part they had asked the negotiation, the transfer pricing thing. In first, so they had just simply said which party has the which party enjoys bargaining power. For instance, if it is on the buyer side, so buyer bargaining power or supplier bargaining power. The straightforward concept has been discussed in the first part. The second part says and in the second part it is negotiating and agreeing to the transfer pricing between the divisions within a large and the complex organization. uh, and make a reference to the Potter's five forces and your argument with part 1 appropriate. Okay, we'll proceed. In the large and the complex in the complex companies, division may have been developed and acquired along a supply chain. This means that within the company there are divisions that are buyer and the supplier for one another. Mm. And so over here, one is the buyer, one another is the supplier. The logic behind establishing the structure is that it reduces the transportation cost, cut out the supplier margin, and secures the reliable supply of the raw material or the component. In this situation, the company faces the risk of sacrificing any saving in the transaction cost if the management need to invest considerable time in the transfer pricing negotiation. So this was just a normal paragraph. They haven't discussed any issue over here. In effect, the division concerned with the competing with another like buyer and the supplier during the negotiation in some ways as discussed in part 1. mm, the transfer pricing agreed will affect to some extent the profitability of each of the division. So what they said that in the effect of the division, in effect the division concerned will be competing with the another. So one division will be competing with the another like buyer and the supplier during the negotiation. Simply that what would be the transfer price, uh, that I want to that the supplying division will state that this will be the transfer price, but for from buyer point of view I will that he would be agreed for some lower or some another price. So there had to be come to a negotiation for a transfer price. In the same way as described in part 1, in part 1 we had discussed which party has the power. So on that basis the transfer pricing would be decided. Okay, on what price or what terms the selling party or the buyer wants to come to a conclusion of transfer price. uh, if the bonus are paid to the manager as per the divisional performance. Wait a second, sorry, we will continue. If the bonus are being paid to the manager as per the divisional performance, the transfer price will determine the level of the bonus paid. So if it is paid on the divisional performance, so what would be the performance of the division, on that basis the bonus should be paid. Thus the manager may have a personal interest in enduring the negotiation that will destroy the value in the company. So over here each department will try for their own benefit, that is selling will try that they should sell at a higher price, and the purchase department will try to purchase at a lower price, so that they have to come to a proper negotiation, proper transfer price on which the transaction will take place. So each party will generally prefer their side to earn the bonus, as the bonus is going to the company. The parent company must see transfer price is in the best interest of the company. The parent company have to determine whether the transfer price is in the best interest. If it is, it should simply be imposed. This finish of the competition between this finish of the competition, but may discourage the manager, especially when divisional bonus are paid. In most of the companies some level of the negotiation is allowed, but this may not be realistic if the division is, if the wait a second, we will read this again. What they had said that the parent company must determine whether the transfer price is in the best interest of the company. So parent will decide. If it is, it should simply be imposed. Okay, this finish of the competition, but the parent will decide the best transfer price. So this will finish off the competition between the buying and selling, but discourage the manager, because as their bonus were linked to their divisional performance, the selling price or the buying price, the transfer pricing as such. In most of the companies some level of the negotiation is allowed, some negotiation is allowed, but this may not be realistic if the transfer is necessary. So if the transfer is actually required for the product being manufactured, so over there it is not realistic, for the negotiation is not realistic. Mm, in this case the bargaining power of the supplier division is vastly increased, thus destroy the balance of the negotiation. Okay, the if it is just laid on one side, we can say, uh, uh, if the supplier charges their own price, so it will destroy the balance between the negotiation, and it will destroy, it will affect the company as a whole. The opposite of the case is the supplier division is not allowed to take the external sales, or if there is no external sales. So if the supplier has no external sales, for example, for a special component, in this situation the bargaining power clearly lies with the buyer division. So it lies with the buyer, that a supplier is not able to sell to the outsider, so means supplier will sell only to the buyer. So buyer has the better position in that case, as the supplier has no choice but to make the transfer. However, if the special component of the supply is not available from elsewhere, the bargaining power may shift to the supplier. And if that special product, if it is not available in the elsewhere in the market, so in that case the power can again be shifted to the supplier as well, as the product is of the different nature. So supplier can demand a special price for that product. So this is the negotiation we generally carry on, which they had asked in the question, which we have to link with the first part, that which party have the um, beneficial position to demand the price, or to ask for the price. And in second part they just compared the divisional transfer pricing, that one is the buyer division and another is the seller division, and to come to a transfer price that is beneficial for the company as a whole. Thus, second last, we will read the second last paragraph. The outcome of one of the transfer price negotiation must be end in a transfer price at a fair price. There should be a fair transfer price at the end, for buyer and seller as well. In this case, the fair means that the price must be comprehended as fair by the division concerned. Any other outcome may lead to loss of motivation in one or both of the division. The fair price can be easily determined if there is a free market of the product. The fair price can be easily determined if there is a free market, means if the product is available in the product, so they can transact at a fair price. mm, of the product component or the service is being transferred. In this case, does in if this case does not exist, so if there isn't any fair market, free market outside, if this case doesn't exist, the range of the transfer price may fall between the marginal cost of the unit and the full cost plus a normal margin. So there can be two ways: either transfer it at the marginal cost of the product, and either as full cost plus normal margin, full cost plus normal margin. In the corporate term, most important transfer pricing issue is that, so what exactly is the issue in the corporate terms is that while consolidating the accounts, the transfer price cease to exist. Actually, transfer price get eliminated when the accounts are consolidated. While consolidating the supplier and the buyer division, the revenue from the transfer price cancels out of the cost of the purchase. So the net result is that the transfer disappears. That buyer, the seller which they had sell to the internal division, and the buyer that they have purchased from the internal division, that transaction get eliminated while consolidation. The entire development in entire development, most of the time and the efforts are wasted and simply rise in the internal transaction cost. So in the negotiation has to be effective. So even they are incurring the costs and such for the negotiation, they are incurring time, they are incurring cost in negotiation, that isn't useful when we prepare the consolidation, because that transaction get eliminated. That is just for the division, transfer pricing is done and the divisional accounts are prepared for the uh, for evaluating the performance of the division, and as such the manager's bonus are linked to the uh, divisional performance. For that purpose it is necessary, but from the point of view of the entire company, that transaction itself get eliminated. Accordingly, any competition between the division is worthless. So at the end it become worthless from the financial point of view of the entire company. If the management account comprehend this and the relative bargaining power of the division concerned, it is possible. Wait a second. What is mentioned? Accordingly, any competition. Okay. If the management accountant comprehend this and the relative bargaining power of the division concerned, it is possible to determine the negotiation quickly, and thus distorting as a little value as possible. So at the end, the management accountants, the managers, uh, the department should agree on the transfer price which is beneficial for both, at the same time which doesn't lead to high cost and involving much time in the negotiation of the transfer price, which ultimately leads no no value, because uh, the internal transactions get eliminated in the consolidation. So the entire process of negotiation should be effective, and uh, it should be beneficial for the company as a whole. uh, so by this we end the case study number 4 as well. In the next video we will cover the case study 5, business excellence model. This is generally a best case study, and a little lengthy as well. See, one page, two page, three page, half approx. Okay, no worries. But the concept is simple in business excellence as well. Concept. Okay, so till now we are done. Thank you.